So I've been listening to a bunch of new A$AP Rocky, but I love his song Both Eyes Closed. So I just want to make more of like, I wouldn't say quite rock, but you know, that kind of style of A$AP Rocky type beat. So I always start off with guitar. All I'm doing is I'm holding down my 2 fingers on the B and G string on the 4th fret. Then I'm just changing up the bass. So I'm going E, then I'm going to B, F sharp. Then I'm really just playing that over and over again. And then for the effects, you know, this is one of my favorite chains I've ever come up with. Again, my guitar has to have a bunch of highs in it because mine is so warm, but I love this effects from Omnisphere. I came here to guitar, bass, trippy, and I got the indie tube, and it just sounds so good. Like, you can just hear that. And if I play it really soft, it sounds great. Then if I... Like, it just has this great, warm, fuzzy tone to it, and I just am absolutely in love with that. So I'm using that whenever I'm playing out any of these sounds. Then I'm really just freestyling. You know, this is, I'm pretty sure, an E major, so I really just freestyled in that. Then one of my favorite things to do is I love playing the bass notes out, so I just went E, B, F sharp, E. And all I'm doing is I took it, recorded it, then I pitch it down an entire octave to make it sound like a real bass guitar. You can hear that versus if I have it pitch how it usually was. So if you have a real guitar, you know, there's a little cool technique you can do real quick. But now we're going to get into the vocals, which I am absolutely in love with. So you can hear they sound like kind of like this weird muted thing. But all I'm doing is I have this one chain that I absolutely have loved. Let me just add it up in a new mixer track. So what I do is essentially I record my vocals in, pitch them up an entire octave. Then I come over here and run it through this chain, or I'm adding this formant shift to bring it back down basically an entire octave. And that'll just give it this, you know, great effect. I just love it. It has like this great muted sound effect. And then of course I'm throwing on some, you know, reverb. And of course a bunch of delay on there. And it just gives this great ambient, you know, kind of otherworldly sound to these vocals. So for the drums, I'm kind of basically copying a little bit off of Both Eyes Closed. But one thing is you really don't want to emphasize these offbeats too much. You like really focusing on the downbeats. So whenever it says, you know, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you want to have a lot of drums on those and on these little beats in between. And you want to get real acoustic snares. So I found a free one off of Reddit. Let me see if I can find it, called Shoegaze Drum Kit. It really just has real acoustic drums. You really have to use those for these kind of beats. But you just want to do a simple rhythm that's complementing the main melody. And don't be afraid to throw a kick where the snare is, which I did on the last part of this bar. Then for the hi-hats, you have to make sure that you're changing up the velocities, but I really just filled each 2-step. And I also making sure to come in here and turn on the shift, which is really just going to move it off the grid a little to make it feel more human. And of course, I'm adding in a ride and a bass, which is really just a crash. Then I'm getting a sound from one of my Omnisphere banks. It's called Spice, and all it is it's really just a really airy pad, similar to like kind of White Ferrari, that kind of vibe. And I'm just following the chord progression. And if you notice, I'm not doing the bass notes the exact same as what I was doing in the bass. What I did was I did E, B, F sharp. Well, here I'm doing E, D sharp, C sharp. But if you notice, these are really all just the same chords. So I did E, which is E major, B, which is B major. I really just made an inversion. I made the B major chord, pitched that down an octave. You can see the D sharp and the F sharp are in the B major. Then same thing over here. This is just an F sharp major chord, but I took the C sharp and inverted it down. So though it looks a little weird, these are the exact same chords that I was playing on the guitar. I'm sure a lot of y'all watching here make a lot of, you know, trap beats, make a lot of pain beats, R&B, stuff like this. But venturing into these, you know, different subgenres are really cool. You'll really learn a lot about how to make, different kind of beats and use some really cool techniques.